And the National Guard's troops activated by the president will be on patrol 24/7, according to the White House. In the past 2 days since President Trump activated the guards, only a small group of federal officers have been seen throughout the nation's capital. But President Trump says that number and visibility will change drastically starting tonight. The White House says there were 43 arrests last night compared to 22 the night prior. Joining me now is our congressional correspondent, Nate Reed. He is with me in our D.C. studio. Nate, I know you are out and about today here in D.C. You didn't see a whole lot of National Guards, but I understand you got some new information.
We do have some new information. A defense official just told me a short time ago that the troops are basically going to be doing this until mission complete. Now, what does mission complete look like? At this point, that's fairly amorphous. It seems like a lot of that information is coming from the White House. They're still working with local law enforcement, basically trying to provide support to D.C. police, which, of course, reports typically to the mayor of Washington, D.C. Right now, it's reporting to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. President Trump federalizing the National Guard yesterday. We did not, however, see any National Guard. We did see a stepped-up police presence. There was National Guard, there were Park Police helicopters that we saw circling earlier. You can kind of see on the streets. It was pretty empty, pretty quiet earlier today. That's video that we shot. But at this point, we still do not know what the D.C. Guard's mission is going to look like long term. And President Trump saying this could last well longer than the 30 days that we've heard about so far. Take a listen. This is your first time in Washington, D.C., though.
Yeah.
Have you felt mostly safe so far?
Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, if you travel a lot and you just look at your stuff and just keep your eyes open and ears open, you don't have to worry. I don't see any chance why people are don't want to go to the U.S. I love U.S.
If you see military on the streets, does that make you feel safer? Does that make you feel less safe?
Oh, safer, because, it's just like when you go into an airport and you have to go through security. It's for your own safety. So that's how I feel about it.
That obviously is not President Trump unless he's become a middle-aged Dutch woman. But at the same time, this tourist I spoke with on the mall told me she's not too concerned about the level of police that she's seeing. We did, however, see one traffic stop while we were out there. It was a traffic stop by Park Police. The sort of thing that we believe does happen, routinely. That's park-controlled territory. But what was interesting was the sheer police presence. 6 different cop cars, multiple federal agencies that we saw on 14th Street and Madison Drive Northwest. You can see it, the video there. HSI, Homeland Security. I mean, we saw a lot of different agencies there to support this one simple traffic stop. I spoke with the woman who was pulled over. She did not want to appear on camera, but she told me there was an issue with the car, registration or insurance. Ultimately, it was her girlfriend's car. She was pulled over. She was told repeatedly, though, by the officer who pulled her over, you can see him leaning into the car there, that this was for visibility. They told her repeatedly, these other people, they're following me around, this is for visibility. So it just kind of goes to show what this has looked like. And as we just heard, President Trump say earlier, it's not exactly clear when this is going to wrap up. Take a listen.
So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in. And it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days. I don't want to call national emergency. If I have to, I will. But I think the Republicans in Congress will approve this pretty much unanimously.
And again, Trump is able to do this for 30 days on his own. To do it for any longer than that 30-day period would require declaring a national emergency, getting a longer-term declaration from Congress, some sort of joint agreement. But again, that would require Democratic support. Does not seem like that's likely right now, but a lot more questions than answers.
Yeah, and Nate, obviously, it's not a surprise. Most crime, I think we all know, happens in the evening and it happens during the summer months. So it'll be really interesting tonight with some of that messaging from the White House saying that there will be a stepped-up presence tonight.
Yeah. I do want to note, though, it'll be interesting to see where these National Guardsmen go, because the bulk of crime in D.C., I mean, if you look at Metropolitan Police Department's crime statistics, it's not on the National Mall. That location logged in the single digits. I think there's no violent crime that's happened in the location where the cops were seen yesterday, the National Guardsmen were seen yesterday so far. So it'll be interesting to see where they branch out. The video you're seeing on your screen, obviously more broadly downtown D.C., not just around that National Mall area where we spent the day, but it was where those Humvees were spotted yesterday with National Guardsmen. At this point, still not clear if they're coming back for night 2.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about earlier this week when the president first made this announcement, we saw the response from Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C. The dynamics here have been really interesting to watch because politically she's in a tough spot, both nationally and in the city. What has that relationship been like between the local law enforcement here in the nation's capital and the White House?
You ever seen the movie It's Complicated? Pretty much that. It's exactly that. Yeah. Muriel Bowser represents the bluest of blue cities. D.C. goes in federal elections for something like 90 to 92% for the Democratic candidate, and just in the single digits for Republicans. So it's a tough kind of a tightrope for her to walk because, for one, Trump has a lot more power over the District of Columbia than he does over the vast majority of other states. Yeah. D.C. is a federal district, much akin to, the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico, the Northern Mariana Islands or Guam. It's not like other states where there's a governor. Bowser does not have as much power as other governors do. So for that reason, there's a lot of questions about what that relationship would look like. She so far has kind of struck this conciliatory tone with President Trump, but she did escalate some of those comments yesterday a couple times, saying that what President Trump was doing was unprecedented, saying that it was, a kind of a breach of norms. But at the same time, she's not out there holding constant press conferences or kind of posting on X or other social media sites, much like, what a Governor Gavin Newsom was doing when President Trump nationalized the National Guard, federalized, the National Guard in California.
Yeah, and we did see the president sort of take a shot at her today when he was asked about D.C. statehood, which has been something that's very, gets a lot of attention here in D.C.
But it sounded like he was praising her.
Well, no, he said absolutely not. When it comes to
in terms of statehood,
yes,
right. But he was asked about Bowser, and he did say, look, the mayor also doesn't want crime. I mean, she's tried to highlight their similarities more than she has their differences.
A lot more to come here. Congressional correspondent Nate Reed for us. Nate, thank you.